Hello everyone, I am Kurz.
And I am Dante.
This is Low Mana, and welcome to another episode of Skin Deep. Following the votes from you guys, and it was a close one, today we're delving into the detail behind Zenyatta's Ifrit and Djinyatta skins, designed by John Polidora. We'll have another vote at the end of this vid for our next episode, so stay tuned for that.
In our last non-Rooster episode, we brought you skins inspired by Norse mythology, in the forms of Mercy and her Valkyrie and Sigrun skins. This time out, Zenyatta's skins are taking us into the legends of the Middle East. At their heart, both the Djinyatta and the Ifrit skins represent the human-like, but not quite human spirits that inhabit countless tales from this region of the world. And straight away, it becomes easy to draw parallels between them and the Omnics of the Overwatch universe. Like humans, but not humans, Omnics coexist with humanity in the Overwatch world, much as Djinn do in Arabian mythology and theology, and the dichotomy that exists is both very apparent in the difference between Zenyatta's two skins. There are numerous potential sources for the root word Djinn that we see in Djinyatta, from the pre-Zoroastrian people of Persia through to the comparatively far more recent mentions found throughout the Quran. Djinn, in one way or another, winds their way through thousands of years of human legend, and as such the tales surrounding them have more facets than is possible to cover in a single video. Djinn tends to be the word given to encompass all supernatural spirits created from smokeless, scorching fire, Ifrit included. But given Ifrit is the sister skin, it feels more likely that Djinyatta is acting as a counterpoint, and lifts heavily from the westernization, genie. Much of what we consider to be genie-related stems from the Arabian Nights, or 1001 Nights depending on what you want to call it, collected over many centuries and encompassing many cultures, religions and regions of the Middle East and Asia. The one commonality between all versions is the framing device. Tales told by Scheherazade to her husband King Shahryar, each night in order to intrigue him and stave off her execution for another day. Our main view of genies in the West comes from one single tale in particular, and one that wasn't even added to the collection until the 18th century, Aladdin. There even exists the possibility that this tale had no true Arabic origin, and was instead created by the supposed translator Antoine Galland. Whatever the case, this tale more than any other has shaped how we view Djinn and genies. We all know the basic premise of the story, whether it be through the Disney classic, plays or reading the versions of the tale. It follows the protagonist Aladdin, recruited by an evil sorcerer in order to retrieve an oil lamp from a booby-trapped magical cave. Double-crossed by the sorcerer, Aladdin accidentally robs the lamp, summoning the genie that lives within. Using the wishes granted him by the genie, Aladdin, eventually, after much trial and tribulation, overcomes the sorcerer, marries the Sultan's daughter, and eventually succeeds in his father-in-law's throne. While we have no reason to believe that Zenyatta or any other Omnic was ever going to grant 3 wishes, the fundamental fact is that Omnics as a whole were originally created to serve humanity, and bring about the golden age promised by their creators, Omnica. We still see numerous examples of this in action, even in the current Overwatch universe. Just look at the waiters in the Oasis restaurant. But it's almost impossible to envisage Zenyatta in this role. He, the rest of the Shambali and indeed most Omnics we see have all well-developed sense of self, but perhaps the Djinyatta skin is a throwback to when this was not the case.
While Djinn as a term started off as all-encompassing and has been moulded and changed over the centuries by numerous cultures, the nature of Ifrit or Ifrit has remained relatively static. The type of Djinn themselves, Ifrit are infernal, intrinsically linked with fire and considered to be amongst the strongest and most cunning of all Djinn classes. While not inherently evil, indeed most legends have them living in communities not dissimilar to our human tribal villages, their primary traits and their association with fire have inevitably led to them being thought of as malevolent. There are fewer stories of Ifrit than there are for Djinn, which makes comparisons somewhat challenging, but where Djinn inevitably became genie in Western culture, Ifrit was also adopted, albeit on a smaller scale. We see them take form in numerous other gaming franchises, from Devil May Cry through to Final Fantasy, to name but 2. But it is in the tale of the fisherman and the genie that we find the closest comparison to the Aladdin tale that Dante told us. Another one of Scheherazade's stories from Arabian Nights, she tells of a fisherman who would cast his nets only 4 times a day. One day when he did this, he found his first cast to be too heavy. He dove into the water and discovered a dead donkey in the net. On his next cast he found a pitcher full of dirt, and on the third some broken shards of glass and pottery. For his final cast he called upon God for assistance, and when he pulled in his net he found a copper jar capped with the seal of Solomon. Overjoyed at his find and yet curious at the contents, he took his knife to the seal and opened the jar, releasing a plume of smoke that condensed into an Ifrit. Elated at his release, the Ifrit offered the fisherman a choice in the manner of his death. He explained that at first he had sworn to enrich whoever freed him. then to grant them great wealth, and then to grant them free wishes. When nobody came after 400 years, he decided to grant his rescuer a choice of death. Frightened, the fisherman pleaded for his life, but the Djinn was not swayed. Struck by the hubris of the creature, the man attempted to trick it back into his jar by claiming that he could never fit in there, and much to his delight and relief, the Ifrit fell for it, trapping itself back in its centuries-long prison. Only after this would the Djinn agree to help, pleading for mercy from the fisherman, and going on to lead the man to wealth and comfort in the company of the Sultan. Quite how the two different natures of these Djinn relate to the two main aspects of Omnics that we've seen is something I think will become clearer in time. Omnics are very much viewed in one of two ways in the Overwatch universe, either as the aggressors in the Omnic crisis responsible for the deaths of many, or as a persecuted underclass oppressed by humanity. With the second Omnic crisis kicking into gear, which will win out remains open to debate. Ultimately in legend, Ifrit as Djinn form a triad as sentient creations, alongside humans and angels. With Omnics taking the role of Djinn, and humans being humans, who would be able to fill the final role of angels in the Overwatch world? Seen as creatures without biological needs, existing only as beings of pure reason, the only seemingly fitting candidates we have would be the AI. While our exposure to this facet of the Overwatch world is pretty limited, we have Athena and Anubis at opposing ends of the spectrum, one a friend and helper to Winston, the other a so-called god AI, seemingly bent on destruction and domination. While the ultimate purpose of Omnics remains shrouded to us, almost everything about these AIs is still a mystery.
Thanks for watching this episode of Skin Deep. Now it's time for you to have your say on the skins we cover next. Would you like us to cover the last episode's runner-up, Farah's Thunderbirds and Rain Dancer skins? Or would you prefer her mother Anna's Wadjet and Wasteland outfits? Who wins? You decide. If you enjoyed this episode, please let us know in the comment section below. Did we miss anything? Do you agree with the comparison between the dichotomy of Omnics against the Djinn? Where do you see Zenyatta's story taking him? Don't forget to let us know what skins you want to see in the comments. Hit that like button if you like this episode, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the little bell for notifications on our latest content. Until next time, I've been Dante.
And I've been Kers.
Thanks for watching.